In this video, I'm going to show you how to write a Band 9 answer for a pie chart in IELTS Writing Task 1. You will learn how to structure your answer, how to use advanced grammar and vocabulary, and more tips and tricks to improve your band score. If you're going to take your IELTS soon, check out my IELTS materials. There, I teach you everything you need to score high. I show you step by step how to give high-scoring answers. And of course, we do many practice tests together, so you will feel confident for your test. You can find the link in the description below. And now, let's get started. Let's have a look at the task. First, there is a statement which tells you what the charts are about. The charts below show the most popular sports people watch around the world. Then the instructions tell you what you have to do. You have to summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. And you have to write over 150 words. So, what do you have to do first? Don't just start writing. Look at the chart and try to see what the main trends are. Often, there are pie charts for different years. However, this doesn't show a change over time. Instead, it shows the sports viewed in the US and the sports viewed in the rest of the world. That's interesting because the prompt didn't tell us that the pie charts were from different places. That's why you must read the titles and other information provided. If you don't read the additional information given, you will miss important points, and then your band score goes down. If you look at the key, you can notice something else important. The top sports are different in both charts. For the US, the top sport is American football, but for the world, it's soccer. Lots of IELTS students make the mistake of skimming the graph and saying the sports are the same in both places. This is a problem because it's wrong. If you do this, the IELTS examiner will think that you don't understand what the graphs show, and this will decrease your band score. So, look at the graphs carefully to make sure you understand what they show. The instructions ask you to summarize the graphs, so you need to look for the main trends. What I see is that football is the biggest in the US and soccer is the biggest in the world. That's enough to write about if you give supporting details, so now we can start writing. I use my templates to write the answer. Templates are great because they help you write a high-scoring answer. They give you sentence starters which include great vocabulary and organize your answer. This helps you get a better band score. When writing your answer, you simply write down the sentence starter and then you finish the sentence with ideas of your own that fit the topic you are given. To get all the templates you need, click on the link below and check out my IELTS materials. You can find templates for all IELTS writing tasks there. So for all charts in task 1, such as pie charts, line graphs, diagrams, and so on, and all questions in task 2. For example, agree-disagree questions, advantage-disadvantage questions, and much more. Here's the first sentence of my answer. These pie charts compare the most popular spectator sports in the world with those in the United States. Start with an introduction that paraphrases the main idea. Imagine that the reader cannot see the charts. Then write a simple explanation. My template says, this chart describes. I changed it a bit because there are two charts, so I made it plural and said, these pie charts compare. You can see I also did a little bit of paraphrasing. As I said, spectator sports rather than sports people watch. Lots of IELTS students just copy the prompt from the question here. This is a problem because if you do this, the IELTS examiner doesn't know if you understand the question or not. Therefore, it's super important to paraphrase because this way you show that you know what the topic is. You don't have to change every word though. For example, I left sports because I want the topic to be clear. Meanwhile, I want to point out another detail about this sentence. When you use a comparison, you must make the ideas ones that can be compared. The first thing I compare is the most popular spectator sports in the world. The comparison word is with. The second thing I compare is those in the United States. Those refers to sports. Now we can move on to the second sentence of the introduction. There is a general trend of watching American football in the United States. This is a very basic idea, but the previous sentence is complex. It's good to have sentences of different lengths, and I don't want to include too much detail in the introduction. This sentence was really easy to write because there is a general trend of is a sentence starter from my template. Now I add the second point I want to talk about. However, soccer is the most popular sport to watch worldwide. This is another simple idea, but the reader knows what I will talk about in the body of the essay. I did say worldwide rather than in the world. That's a small detail, but it changes the pattern, so the IELTS examiner knows I have a good grasp of vocabulary. This will improve my band score. We don't need any more information in the introduction. Statistics come in the body of the essay. Don't forget to indent the first line of the body paragraph. Your answer must have a good structure. First, one pie chart shows that a considerable percentage of Americans, about 40%, watch American football. First is an awesome word for organizing the ideas. Considerable means a lot or large, but considerable sounds much more impressive, doesn't it? I also added about 40% to the sentence because I want to show how large the percentage is. This is the time to give detail. However, you might notice that if the number is 40%, the remainder is 60%, which means that another sport could be more popular, right? So I give more details to show that American football really is the largest. That figure is far greater than any other sport, as basketball or baseball are watched by only about 10% each, and the remaining are other sports. By the way, if you want more sample answers for IELTS writing, hit the like button and write yes in the comments. If you want something else, tell me your video wish in the comments so I know what you would like to see on this channel. Let's have a closer look at this sentence. I decided to put all the other sports together into one sentence because I'm summarizing the chart, not describing every detail. I stressed the idea of American football being the largest using that figure is far greater. I also make 10% sound smaller by saying only. If you use words like this, you make your answer more precise and you demonstrate that you have a broad range of vocabulary. This will increase your band score. You may wonder why I wrote 10 as a word, but wrote 40 as a number. That's a really good question. In writing an essay, whole numbers up to and including 10 need to be written out as words. Above 10, you can decide whether to write them out or give the number. Just be consistent, whichever you choose. Note that partial numbers, such as 3.4, are given as numbers, not written out as 3.4, even if they are under 10. That's enough information for the first point, which is that American football is the most popular in the US. Now we can move on to the second point. By contrast, the second pie chart shows that approximately 45% of the total viewers in the world prefer to watch soccer. I use by contrast to show that I'm highlighting a difference. Always use lots of linking words to show how ideas relate to each other. Approximately shows that I'm guessing and that I'm not sure of the exact percentage. It's called an hedge word. Hedge words show that something is not 100% certain. For example, about is another hedge word that I used earlier in this answer. It's okay to guess like that. Just use your best judgment. If you're not totally correct, it doesn't matter. Remember, the IELTS examiner is looking at your ability to summarize information. Now I will give another sentence to support the claim that soccer is most popular in the world. Cricket comes second with about 30% of the viewers, and field hockey is third with a moderate 20%. I use the same pattern for both parts of this sentence: sport, verb, percent. However, I changed comes to is so that there is variety and a bit of flow. I'm trying to stress that soccer is most popular, so I used moderate, another word from my template, to emphasize that the other numbers are not nearly as large. I want a final sentence summarizing the details and stressing the difference. Here's what I decided on. In other words, American football does not enter the top sport rankings on the international level. In other words is another awesome linking phrase. You can use it to highlight the main point you want to make. In this case, I'm saying that it's interesting that the top sport in the US is different than in the world. Instead of in the world, I paraphrase with on the international level. I try to avoid repetition so that the IELTS examiner can see my vocabulary and grammar. In Task 1 questions, it's very easy to use the same words over and over. You must absolutely avoid this. Try to showcase your vocabulary so the IELTS examiner can give you a high band score. We've said enough about the charts, so now we can write a conclusion. A conclusion doesn't have to be long or fancy, but you need one to demonstrate that you know proper essay form. Make sure to indent the first line. Comparing the charts, it is clear that, overall, there is a significant difference between the viewership of sports in the United States, where American football is predominant, and the viewership in the world as a whole, which prefers soccer. One sentence like this is enough for the conclusion. This one is easy to write because I use a sentence starter from my template. Comparing the charts, it is clear that overall. All you have to do is summarize the main idea you talked about. Here, this is the difference between the largest percentage in the whole world and in the US. I use two relative clauses, where American football is predominant and which prefers soccer. Relative clauses starting with where, when, who, and which are excellent ways to show off grammar and add more detail to a sentence. They are real score boosters. I always try to include a few relative clauses in my answers. This answer is 182 words. That's enough because it's over 150 words. Don't write more. It's much better to have a clear, concise summary of the main points than to write hundreds of words about things that are minor details. Instead of adding more words, take the extra time to proofread what you have written. Make sure that your essay makes sense. Change any spelling and punctuation errors you see. Taking time to fix your essay may be enough to boost your score to the next band level. That's it. That's how to write a Band 9 answer for a pie chart question in IELTS Writing Task 1. I hope you liked this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe and click the bell icon so you're notified when the next video comes out. Also, share this video with your friends so they can improve their IELTS score too. See you in the next video.